Across the endless stretches of the galaxy, whispers floated like drifting starlight. Other civilizations spoke of humanity with a mixture of fear, disbelief, and mockery. Traders said humans were reckless, scholars called them fragile, and warriors laughed at their small, soft bodies. They cannot survive the void, the Eldari claimed. Their minds will break under the weight of space, warned the Cathari. Yet these whispers carried a secret truth. No one had ever seen humans fight in full force. No one had dared. Captain Elias Kane of the Dauntless watched the holographic map of the Cathari sector, the soft glow of the projection reflecting in his tired eyes. The ship's engines thrummed beneath his feet, a low vibration that felt almost alive. Humanity had ventured far from Earth, far from the safety of their sun, to a part of space dominated by the Valkyrian Empire, a race known for crushing planets beneath their iron claws. Every historian in the galaxy knew the Valkyrians were merciless, precise, and efficient killers. And yet Elias felt no fear. Instead, he felt the familiar rush of determination, the pride of knowing what humans were capable of when cornered. Lieutenant Mira Voss stood beside him, her eyes scanning the flickering displays. Captain, sensors show no immediate threat. The sector appears quiet, she reported, her voice steady but tinged with concern. Elias did not answer immediately. He traced his fingers over the map, imagining the vastness of space, the countless fleets that could appear at any moment. Quiet is dangerous, he finally said, his voice low but firm. The galaxy fears us, because they don't understand us. But soon they will. Beyond the observation deck, the crew moved with quiet precision. Every engineer, every navigator, every young ensign knew their role. Yet there was an unspoken tension in the air, a shared understanding that this mission was not just another routine patrol. Humanity's survival and its reputation hung in the balance. Suddenly, a ripple appeared on the sensors, a disturbance in the darkness. It was subtle at first, almost like a shadow slipping between stars. Then it grew, massive shapes emerging from the void. Valkyrian warships, sleek and terrifying, appeared as if summoned by the galaxy's collective fear. The fleet moved with a cold mechanical elegance, their immense silhouettes blotting out the distant light of nearby stars. Humans. A booming voice crackled across the communications network. It was not angry, but cold, precise, almost mechanical. You are trespassing. Leave this sector or be destroyed. The crew froze for a moment. Some swallowed hard. Others gripped their stations tighter. Mira looked at Elias, eyes wide. Captain, they're enormous. Elias's jaw tightened, but his gaze remained steady. They think we are fragile, he said quietly. They think we will break. They are about to learn their first mistake. The first salvo came without warning. The ship shuddered violently, the lights flickering, sparks dancing along the edges of the consoles. Alarms blared, echoing through the corridors. But the Dauntless did not fall. It groaned, it bled energy, but it remained upright. Humanity had survived worse than this. On Earth, in wars and disasters, in the cold dark of space. Elias gritted his teeth as he watched the damage reports. Divert power to shields. Keep us steady. Mira followed orders, her hands moving quickly over the controls. Shields at 60%. Engines holding, the crew worked as one. Each human on board moved with a clarity and instinct born of necessity. Engineers patched hull breaches, gunners recalibrated weapons, navigators charted escape vectors faster than the Valkyrians could predict. And through it all, Elias felt the weight of something larger than fear. It was pride. A deep, unwavering pride in the species he represented. Outside, the stars streaked past as the Dauntless danced through the enemy formation. Humans were small, yes. Fragile in appearance, yes. But adaptable, ingenious, relentless. These were traits that no censor, no scholar, no fleet had fully understood. For a brief moment, in the heart of the Cathari sector, the galaxy paused. The whispers about humanity's weakness, the stories of fragile bodies and reckless minds, began to feel hollow, like echoes of fear that had yet to meet reality. Elias straightened, voice firm over the comms. Prepare for countermeasures. Show them why the galaxy should never underestimate humanity. And in that moment, as the Dauntless glided into the unknown, humanity's story began to rewrite itself. The whispers of fear were about to become roars of awe. The Dauntless moved silently through the dark expanse of the Cathari sector, its hull glinting faintly against distant starlight. Yet the calm was a fragile illusion. Without warning, the shadows ahead shifted. Massive shapes emerged from the void like predators circling unseen prey. The Valkyrian warships had arrived. Each vessel was a fortress of metal and firepower, sleek, massive, and deadly. "Captain?" Mira's voice trembled slightly, betraying the tension that she tried so hard to hide. "They're enormous." Elias did not flinch. He studied the enemy fleet, his mind racing through every possible tactic. "Size doesn't matter," he replied firmly. "Precision doesn't matter. The galaxy has forgotten one thing about humanity. We survive where others fall." The Valkyrian commander's voice crackled over the comms. "You are insignificant. Turn back, humans. Leave this sector, or be obliterated." A ripple of fear might have moved through the crew of any other ship, but not the Dauntless. The humans aboard knew their strength was not just in firepower, but in willpower, in ingenuity, in the stubborn refusal to surrender even when facing impossible odds. "Red alert," Elias ordered. "All stations prepare for engagement. We will not run." The first salvo of energy beams struck the Dauntless like thunder. The ship groaned, metal screeching under the impact. Alarms screamed, lights flickered, and heat raced through the corridors. Sparks rained over consoles as the crew struggled to maintain control. Mira's hands flew over the controls. "Shields at 40%. Hull integrity dropping." Elias gritted his teeth. "Divert all power to engines. Evasive maneuvers. Keep us in one piece." Even as the Valkyrians' massive weapons tore at the ship, the humans adapted. The Dauntless twisted and darted in ways the enemy did not anticipate. Each movement was precise yet unpredictable, a dance of steel and fire. Every shot fired, every evasive maneuver executed, revealed the human edge, creativity born of survival instinct. In the control room, the crew worked as one. Engineers repaired breaches mid-battle. Gunners recalculated trajectories in seconds, and navigators found openings in the enemy formation that no Valkyrian could see. Humans were small, yes, but their minds were fast. Their hearts burned with something the galaxy had never measured: determination. The Valkyrians grew frustrated. Their commands became sharper, faster, but still the humans evaded, struck, and survived. Elias saw it in their eyes. They underestimated humanity. They thought size and firepower alone would win. They had forgotten the one rule that had carried humans through centuries of war, plague, and disaster. Humans adapt. Humans endure. Humans fight back. Mira looked at Elias, awe mixed with fear. "Captain." "They didn't expect this." Elias's voice was calm, almost gentle. "They never do. Humanity is at its best when they think we are broken. Now watch us rise." As the battle continued, the Dauntless began to turn the tide. Small but precise strikes targeted the Valkyrians' shield generators. Systems failed, weapons went offline, and the enemy fleet hesitated. For the first time, the Valkyrians were unsure, their confidence cracking like glass. And yet victory came with cost. Smoke curled along the decks, alarms screamed constantly, and the cries of the wounded echoed through the ship. Elias moved from station to station, checking on his crew, offering words of encouragement, holding hands, steadying trembling shoulders. "Stay with me. We survive together. Humanity survives together." Even in the heart of chaos, the human crew refused to break. Each crew member bore pain, fear, and fatigue, but also courage, pride, and resolve. They were small, fragile in body, but their spirit shone brighter than the energy weapons blasting around them. Elias watched as the Dauntless weaved through the enemy formation, striking where the Valkyrians were weakest. He thought of Earth, of the countless generations who had survived war, famine, and fear. That resilience was alive in every human on board. That spirit would not be extinguished, not here, not ever. The galaxy had heard rumors of humanity's weakness. Now as the Dauntless danced through fire and destruction, the first seeds of awe and fear began to take root. The humans were not fragile. They were something else entirely, something the galaxy had not seen before. Elias gripped the command console, determination hard in his chest. Hold steady. We've just begun to show them who we are. And as the stars streaked past, the humans of the Dauntless became more than survivors. They became a storm the galaxy could no longer ignore. The battle raged across the void, a deadly dance of light and metal. The Valkyrians, confident in their immense firepower, expected easy victory. Their warships moved in precise formation, energy weapons cutting through the darkness with lethal accuracy. Yet the Dauntless moved differently. It twisted, darted and vanished into the shadows between the stars, slipping through the enemy's grasp like a phantom. Captain Elias Kane's eyes never left the tactical display. Every movement, every decision mattered. He watched the Valkyrian fleet falter, sensing the subtle cracks in their confidence. They think they can crush us with numbers, he said softly, almost to himself. But they forget, humans don't follow rules. Lieutenant Mira Voss worked beside him, recalculating every vector, every trajectory, faster than thought itself. Her fingers flew over the controls, eyes wide with both fear and exhilaration. Captain, if we fire here, then curve the energy pulse. She hesitated, realizing it was a risky maneuver. It could bypass their shields entirely. Elias nodded, a fierce pride in his chest. Do it. Humanity thrives on risk. The attack was precise, brilliant. The Valkyrian shields flickered and failed under the unexpected strike. One by one, their ships went offline, forced into retreat or destruction. The humans of the Dauntless were small, fragile to look at, but their minds moved faster than any machine the Valkyrians had built. On the deck, crew members shouted as systems recalibrated and weapons fired. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and the roar of engines filled the corridors. Every human on board worked in perfect harmony, improvising, adapting, and refusing to yield. Engineers patched breaches even as blasts tore past them. Gunners reloaded weapons mid-battle, and navigators found openings where none seemed to exist. Mira's voice trembled with awe. Captain, they didn't expect this. They never thought humans could. Elias cut her off gently. They never do. His voice was calm but fierce, carrying the weight of generations of human survival. They underestimate us because they see weakness where there is none. Remember this, we endure. We survive. And when we fight, we rise. The Valkyrians for the first time realized their calculations were wrong. Their precision, their order, their belief in their superiority, all shattered against human ingenuity. The fleet scrambled, systems overloading, communications breaking apart under unexpected assaults. Even as victory drew closer, the cost became clear. Smoke drifted through the corridors, fire hissed along damaged conduits, and the wounded cried out. Elias moved among them, offering words of comfort, steady hands, and unwavering encouragement. Don't let fear win, he said. We fight together. We survive together. Humanity survives together. The crew drew strength from each other. Each human endured pain, fatigue, and fear. But their hearts burned brighter than any energy weapon the Valkyrians could unleash. Their courage was contagious, spreading through the ship like fire, binding them together into something stronger than any single warrior. Elias watched as the Dauntless struck again. The Valkyrians' command vessel was exposed for a brief moment, and the humans seized the opportunity. A precise volley of energy tore through its defenses, crippling its systems and forcing it into retreat. The enemy's confidence collapsed. The battle became a turning point. The humans, though outnumbered, began to dominate through creativity, teamwork, and relentless spirit. They exploited weaknesses no algorithm could predict. They turned every disadvantage into advantage, every danger into an opportunity. Outside, the stars blurred past as the Dauntless moved through the enemy formation, a single human warship against an Empire's fleet. And yet humanity's edge was undeniable. The galaxy's whispers about human fragility began to fade, replaced by awe, fear, and disbelief. Elias leaned back, exhaustion tugging at his body, but pride swelling in his chest. "The galaxy thought they knew us," he said quietly. "They thought we were weak, but we've only begun to show them what humans can do." As the Dauntless continued its deadly dance, the crew felt something larger than victory growing inside them, a sense of destiny, a realization that they were part of something extraordinary. Humanity was no longer a species to pity, to underestimate, or to fear. They were a force the galaxy could not ignore. In the darkness of space, among the wreckage of Valkyrian ships and the glow of distant stars, the humans of the Dauntless proved it. They were not fragile. They were not reckless. They were unstoppable when united, adaptive when tested, and relentless when challenged. And somewhere far across the sector, the Valkyrians began to whisper among themselves. Something new, something terrifying had arrived in the galaxy. Humans were not just survivors, they were something more. The Dauntless floated through the aftermath of the skirmish, the dark void of space illuminated by the soft glow of distant stars and the flickering remnants of damaged ships. Smoke drifted through the corridors and the hum of the engines carried a weary rhythm. The Valkyrians had retreated, but the victory was not without its price. The ship's interior was scarred, hull breaches patched only temporarily, fire still sizzling along the walls, and the cries of the injured echoing through the decks. Captain Elias Kane moved carefully down the corridors, his eyes scanning every room, every injured crew member. He saw fear etched on young faces, exhaustion deep in every movement, but also determination. A determination that made his chest swell with pride. "We survived the storm," he murmured softly, almost to himself. "And that is all that matters." Lieutenant Mira Voss followed him, her hands trembling slightly as she helped a crewman with a burned arm. "Captain," she said quietly, "so many are hurt. Some won't make it." Elias paused, placing a firm hand on her shoulder. "I know, Mira, that is the cost of survival. But even in pain, humanity rises. We endure. We carry each other forward, and we do not break." They entered the medbay, where injured humans were tended with care. The medics moved with tireless focus, stitching wounds, administering stabilizers, and whispering words of reassurance. Each crew member, young or old, strong or fragile, clung to hope like a lifeline. Elias watched a young ensign, barely more than a boy, his eyes wide and trembling as he tried to steady himself. "Don't give up," Elias whispered, kneeling beside him. "You are stronger than you know. Humanity survives because of people like you." The boy's lips trembled, but a small spark of courage lit his eyes. That spark, Elias knew, was the same spark that had carried humanity across centuries of hardship, through wars, famines, disasters, and the endless void of space. That spark would never be extinguished. Outside the medbay, the ship creaked under the strain of recent battle. Sparks flickered along the walls, and alarms occasionally blared, a reminder of how close they had come to destruction. Yet the crew moved with quiet resolve, patching breaches, recalibrating systems, and checking every critical module. Every human aboard understood that survival was not the work of one, but the labor of all. Elias walked to the bridge, pausing at the viewport to stare at the field of stars stretching endlessly before them. The battle had left scars, but it had also revealed something profound. The humans aboard the Dauntless were small in comparison to the galaxy's greatest powers, but they carried something the Valkyrians could never understand. Heart, courage, and relentless will. "Captain," Mira said from behind, her voice soft, "they underestimated us. They thought this would be an easy victory. And yet we survived," Elias nodded. "They will remember this day," he said quietly. "They will remember the cost of underestimating humanity." The crew gathered on the bridge, faces weary but glowing with pride. Some bore injuries, others wore exhaustion-like armor, but all shared the same feeling. They had faced impossible odds and survived. Humanity had endured yet again, not through sheer size or firepower, but through spirit, unity, and courage. Elias felt a surge of emotion as he looked at them. "We fight not just for victory, but for each other," he said. "Every life aboard this ship matters. Every human carries the weight of our species' story. And together, we make it stronger." The ship shuddered as repairs continued, but the crew pressed on. No one complained. No one faltered. The pain was real, the loss palpable, but their resolve was stronger. Even in the shadows of fear, even under the weight of death and destruction, humanity's light refused to dim. In the quiet moments, Elias allowed himself a thought. The galaxy had judged them for weakness. It had whispered that humans were fragile, reckless, incapable of true power. Yet here, among his crew, battered but unbroken, he saw the truth. Humans were more than their physical form, more than their weapons. They were resilient, clever, and unyielding. They were hope incarnate, a living proof that strength was measured not only in muscle or technology, but in spirit. As the crew continued their work, the Dauntless glided through space like a wounded but determined predator. Elias's gaze met Mira's, and in that silent exchange words were unnecessary. They had survived together. They would rebuild together. And humanity's story, full of courage, loss, and triumph, would continue, louder and stronger than any enemy's roar. In the darkness of the void, humans had faced fear and pain and emerged alive. They were not fragile. They were fire. They were endurance. They were humanity, and the galaxy would soon learn that fire could not be contained. The battlefield stretched endlessly across the void, a deadly chessboard of fire and shadow. The Valkyrian fleet, once confident in its superiority, now faltered. Their precision weapons struggled to track the Dauntless, which moved with a grace and unpredictability no machine could calculate. Every time the enemy thought they had the humans cornered, the ship vanished, reappearing where the Valkyrians least expected it. Captain Elias Kane stood on the bridge, his eyes sharp, mind racing. "Prepare for a full strike," he ordered. His voice carried authority, but beneath it lay the quiet confidence that had carried humanity through countless battles. "We've suffered, yes, but we adapt. We fight smarter. Now we show them what humans can do." Lieutenant Mira Voss's fingers danced over the controls, executing maneuvers faster than thought itself. "Captain, if we coordinate this pattern with the secondary pulse weapons, we can disable their command vessels." "It's risky, but it could work." Elias nodded, a fierce smile tugging at his lips. "Risk is humanity's advantage, we take it. Fire when ready." The Dauntless surged forward, weaving through enemy lines like a phantom. The human crew operated as one, each member anticipating the other's movements. Engineers repaired damaged systems in seconds. Gunners recalculated targeting as the ship twisted mid-flight. Navigators found gaps in formations no Valkyrian algorithm could predict. Each action was small, but together they became unstoppable. Energy beams flared across the void as the Dauntless struck. Shields of the Valkyrian command vessel flickered, then collapsed under precise, unrelenting fire. The enemy fleet scrambled in panic, their formation breaking apart. One by one, their warships faltered, systems overloading, engines failing. "Captain, they're retreating," Mira shouted, a mix of disbelief and exhilaration in her voice. Elias's eyes gleamed with pride. "Not yet. Keep the pressure. Show them humanity never yields." Even as the humans advanced, the battlefield reminded them of its cost. Smoke drifted through the Dauntless, alarms blared, and the wounded still cried out. But Elias's crew had learned something vital. Fear and pain were tools to be mastered, not shackles to bind them. They moved through the chaos with courage, using every setback as fuel for their determination. In the corridors, crew members whispered to each other, offering support, encouragement, and reassurance. "Stay with me," Elias would tell them. We survive together. Humanity survives together. Each word carried more weight than any weapon. They were the backbone of a species that refused to be broken. The Dauntless executed a daring maneuver, diving into the heart of the Valkyrian formation. The humans struck at the enemy's most critical systems: energy cores, shield generators, navigation hubs. Every hit was precise, calculated, and devastating. Valkyrian ships exploded in silent fireballs, drifting like debris against the infinite black. From the bridge, Elias watched the enemy fleet crumble. "This is what humans do," he said softly. "We take the impossible and make it possible. We turn weakness into strength. We turn fear into power." Mira's voice was awed. They never expected this. Humanity. They never thought we could fight like this." Elias shook his head, smiling grimly. "They never do. But that is why we endure. That is why we survive. That is why humanity will always rise." As the Dauntless pressed the attack, even the Valkyrian command began to falter. Their calculations, strategies, and confidence, all shattered by the unpredictability and determination of a single human warship. Across the sector, other fleets would soon hear of this. The whispers of humanity's weakness would turn to fear. The stories of fragile humans would fade into awe. The crew worked tirelessly, their exhaustion palpable, yet their determination stronger than ever. Every crew member knew the moment was historic. Not just a battle won, but proof that humans could face the galaxy's most powerful enemies and survive. Humanity's ingenuity, courage, and spirit had reshaped the course of this fight. Elias allowed himself a brief moment to look around the bridge, at his crew, battered but alive, fighting with hearts full of pride. "We've shown them," he said, voice steady and clear. "They spoke of humanity and fear. Now they will remember it." And as the Dauntless moved through the ruins of the Valkyrian fleet, humanity's roar echoed across the stars, not in anger, but in undeniable proof. Humans were not fragile. They were fire, unyielding, brilliant, and unstoppable. For the first time, the galaxy truly understood. Humanity had an edge no calculation could predict, no weapon could match, and no enemy could fully comprehend. The Dauntless drifted through the wreckage of the battlefield, engines humming softly, crew exhausted but alive. Smoke curled from the ship's damaged hull, and alarms still blared occasionally, reminders of how close they had come to disaster. Yet despite the pain, the crew felt a deep, unshakable pride. Humanity had survived against the galaxy's most feared fleet. Humanity had not only survived, they had prevailed. Captain Elias Kane stood at the bridge's viewport, eyes fixed on the scattered remains of Valkyrian ships, drifting like silent ghosts. "We've shown them," he murmured, voice low but firm. "They spoke of humanity and fear, and now they will remember." Lieutenant Mira Voss glanced at him, her exhaustion apparent, yet her eyes burned with wonder. "Captain, transmissions are coming in from every sector. Ships, stations, even distant colonies, they're all reacting. They've seen the battle. They've seen us survive," Elias nodded. "Then the whispers are changing. The stories of fragile humans, they will fade. Fear has a new voice now. Across the galaxy, the news of the Dauntless's actions spread like wildfire. Messages crackled through comm networks, detailing how a single human warship had faced an entire Valkyrian fleet and lived. Entire civilizations paused, watching recordings, analyzing reports, and reassessing what they had believed about humanity. What had once been a rumor of weakness now became a legend of cunning, bravery, and sheer willpower. Even the Valkyrians themselves were shaken. Their commanders struggled to regain composure, their pride wounded by the unexpected resilience of their prey. Reports flooded in. Systems crippled, formations broken, confidence shattered. The enemy that once thought humans fragile now spoke with trembling voices. "Your species is dangerous," one Valkyrian command transmission admitted before abruptly cutting off. Elias stood silent, letting the weight of those words sink in. The galaxy had judged humans for weakness, for recklessness, for being small in size and fragile in appearance. Now, even the most powerful race in the sector had been forced to recognize something they had never accounted for: humanity's spirit. On the Dauntless, the crew worked quietly, repairing, checking systems, and tending the wounded, yet beneath their labor a new energy buzzed, one of triumph and pride. They were not just survivors. They were a warning, a lesson, a force the galaxy could no longer ignore. Mira turned to Elias, her voice soft but full of awe. "Captain, this changes everything. The galaxy, they'll never underestimate us again." Elias's lips curved into a proud, tired smile. "No, they'll remember. They'll speak of humanity in fear now, yes, but fear mixed with respect. They'll know we survive, we endure, and we fight like nothing else in the stars." Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, silent witnesses to humanity's rise. In distant colonies, scholars rewrote histories. Traders whispered in hushed tones. Admirals reconsidered their strategies. Entire fleets altered courses, unsure whether to confront or avoid the humans entirely. Humanity's reputation had shifted from rumor to undeniable truth. And yet, Elias knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy would test them again, challenge them in ways unimaginable. But humanity had proven its edge. They were not fragile. They were fire. They were endurance incarnate, capable of brilliance and bravery that no machine, no algorithm, and no enemy could predict. Elias turned to his crew, eyes meeting theirs one by one. "We've survived this," he said. "We've proven ourselves. But remember this, the galaxy will keep watching. They will fear us now, yes, and that fear will be a shield for humanity, a reminder to everyone who doubts what we can do." Mira nodded, the glow of pride lighting her face. "Then we keep moving forward, stronger, wiser, unbroken." Elias exhaled slowly, letting the silence of the bridge fill him with resolve. Humanity had survived chaos, injury, and doubt. They had survived because of their courage, their unity, and their spirit. And the galaxy had taken notice. Far beyond the Cathari sector, across countless star systems, the first whispers of awe began to spread. Tales of the human warship, the Dauntless, would travel faster than light, seeding fear, respect, and admiration. A single species, small and fragile in appearance, had become a symbol of power that no one could ignore. Elias placed a hand on the console, feeling the hum of the ship beneath him, as if the Dauntless itself understood the weight of their victory. "We've shown them who we are," he said softly, almost to the stars themselves. "And the universe, it will never forget." The crew looked out at the infinite expanse of space, feeling something they had never felt before, a sense of destiny, a sense of purpose. Humanity was no longer a mere player in the galaxy. They were a force. They were proof that even the smallest, seemingly weakest species could rise to greatness. And somewhere in the silence of space, the galaxy began to whisper a new name: humanity. The Dauntless drifted through the black expanse of space, battered, scarred, yet unbroken. Its hull bore the marks of battle, and smoke still hissed from damaged conduits. Inside, the crew moved quietly, repairing, tending wounds, and ensuring the ship would survive whatever came next. But the weight of their achievement pressed on them in a way that no damage report or status readout could measure. Humanity had survived where others expected them to fail. Humanity had triumphed against the odds, against fear, and against a fleet that thought them fragile. Captain Elias Kane stood on the bridge, staring out at the stars. The galaxy stretched endlessly before him, silent, indifferent, and yet filled with the whispers and stories of a single species that had proven itself in ways no one had anticipated. His crew, battered but alive, worked steadily, but their faces shone with pride and determination. They had faced the impossible, and they had won. "They feared us," Elias said softly, almost to himself. "And now, they will respect us. Lieutenant Miravos stepped beside him, eyes scanning the field of distant stars where Valkyrian ships had retreated. "Captain, the galaxy will never forget this. They've seen what humanity is capable of. We've rewritten the story about our species." Elias nodded, a tired smile on his lips. "Yes, they will speak of us in fear, but also in awe. They will remember that humans endure, that we survive, that we rise stronger after every challenge." The crew gathered on the bridge, young and old, seasoned and inexperienced. Each bore scars of the battle, each had faced fear, injury, and doubt. And yet there was a light in their eyes, a fire that no enemy could extinguish. Elias looked at them and felt the weight of what they had accomplished, not just for themselves, but for all of humanity. "We fight not just for survival," he said, voice firm, carrying over the hum of the engines. "We fight for each other. We fight for everyone who came before us and for everyone who will come after. Every life aboard this ship matters. Every human carries the weight of our species' story, and together we make it stronger." Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, silent witnesses to humanity's rising power. Across distant systems, whispers began to spread. Tales of the human warship that had faced an entire Valkyrian fleet and survived. Entire civilizations paused astonished. Scholars debated, traders murmured, and fleets reconsidered their strategies. The galaxy had seen something extraordinary, a species small in size, fragile in appearance, yet unstoppable in spirit. Even the Valkyrians, their pride wounded, acknowledged the truth in hushed tones. "Humans are dangerous beyond reckoning," a single transmission admitted before it was cut off. Elias exhaled slowly. Humanity's roar had begun, not with anger, but with proof. The galaxy would hear it, feel it, and remember it for generations. The Dauntless was more than a ship. It was a symbol, a testament to what humans could achieve when united, when determined, and when unwilling to surrender. He turned to Mira and the rest of the crew. "We've survived the storm. We've faced the impossible. And we've emerged alive. Remember this moment. Carry it with you always. Humanity is more than strength or technology. Humanity is will. Humanity is fire." A young ensign, still trembling from fear and adrenaline, looked at Elias. "Captain, do you really think we've changed the galaxy?" Elias smiled, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder. "We already have. They feared us before. Now they will respect us, and this is just the beginning." As the Dauntless limped forward, systems humming, engines stabilizing, and crew tending to final repairs, the stars seemed to stretch endlessly before them, a canvas for humanity's future. The galaxy had whispered of their weakness. Now it would speak of their strength. Humanity had not only survived, they had proven that they could rise above any challenge, face any foe, and carve their mark in the universe. Elias closed his eyes for a moment, letting the quiet hum of the ship fill him with a profound sense of purpose. Humanity's story was just beginning, and the Dauntless had written its first chapter in fire, courage, and undying resolve. The crew watched the distant stars, silent but united. They had faced fear and danger and emerged victorious. They had carried humanity's pride into the unknown, and the galaxy, vast and infinite, would remember their name. Humanity was no longer whispered about in doubt or pity. Humanity was fire, unstoppable, brilliant, and alive. And somewhere across the countless light years of space, the galaxy began to speak a single word in awe, respect, and fear: humanity.